Most podcasts talk about customer experience like it lives on a slide. This one talks about what actually happens when the meeting ends. Welcome to Confessions of a CX Executive. I'm JP Dumas, former CX executive, and this is a show where we have honest conversations with leaders who've been in the chair, made the calls, and have owned the good, the bad, and the ugly that don't show up in conference keynotes. If you're responsible for results, revenue, churn, and team engagement, well, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Hey, folks. On this week's episode of Confessions of a CX Executive, I have another phenomenal leader for you. I have Anthony Tuggle, also known as AT. He's a transformative CX leader with over 30 years experience. Hope he doesn't mind me saying that, driving large-scale customer operations, AI transformation, and organizational performance. Check this out. He has led contact center teams of more than 30,000 employees across 200 plus locations, delivering billions with a B in revenue while improving the customer experience as well as employee engagement. But here's the thing. As a former president of customer operations at Affinity, he has also been involved with AI implementations and decisioning and driving customer engagement through optimization. And if that's not enough, today he is the founder and CEO of Tag Us Worldwide, where he focuses on leadership and mentorship and helping organizations align their people, their processes, and systems to drive sustainable performance. Ooh, it's a lot to get through. Like I said, we have an accomplished leader. So anyway, AT, Anthony, is there anything that I missed that you want to tee up before we jump into today's episode?
I think you captured it well. I think we want the audience to know I am all about transforming good organization into great organizations and developing good leaders or mediocre leaders into great leaders. That's what I do. That's what my brand stands for. That's what I enjoy doing, and that's what I'm passionate about at the end of the day.
That is awesome. And I think what's so critical is you being a passionate mentor and executive coach. This isn't something that came about when you launched your company. I mean, to your
Right.
point, this has been who you are and your brand. And so now you're going to go out and make sure that the world knows this is what you're doing right now. So this is phenomenal.
That's it. And I'm passionate about it, and I'm really enjoying it. It took me a moment leaving the matrix, I guess say the corporate matrix, and standing out on my own and betting on me. And that first month, I was like, "What did I just do again?" I don't have this regular paycheck coming in. Are you sure about that? I had a lot of conversation with God. Like, are you sure that's what we're about to do? He said yes. So I just took it and ran with it. And 2026 is betting on me and still making a difference in changing people's lives. What I'm
Absolutely.
passionate
And I,
about.
and, I, and I think this gives you an opportunity to lean into your superpower, which we're talking about here today. It's the things you've always done. So it's as natural as your own name.
It
So,
is. It
yeah,
is natural, and I do want to first just say thank you. You and I have been trying to connect. So for the people out there, man, JP and I have been trying to connect, and I'm so glad we finally did. We were sending each other notes, and we were on similar um, WhatsApp groups, and we know all the same people, which is kind of cool and interesting. And I was like. I think he texted me. I texted him back. We jumped on a call. We were like, okay, we're gonna do this. So here we are. Thank you.
here we are. So thank you for taking me up on that. I said, we're going to talk to, if this is Confessions of a CX Executive, let's start with the CX Executive with the confession. So I'm going to come in hot here with the very first question.
All right.
I mean, you've led at a scale that most people never get to see. So my question is, where do leaders get it wrong when they think performance is a people problem?
Um, that's a great question. Most leaders get it wrong because you know what? The easiest way out is to blame the people. That is the easiest answer. What I learned in my experience that you should look at it from an ecosystem standpoint. So I typically look at it from people, process, technology. approach, and then I layer on top of it the culture because that's where you truly kind of understand it. You have to look at it holistically. The weakest answer, I think, is to say it's the people. No, no, you can't say that because I believe it's never the people. It's either the leadership or the processes or the technology. The people I've in my experience, JP, and Lord knows I've had a lot of experience in this. If you lead them, they will follow you. So if you don't lead, and I went into many centers and many business offices, and they would say it's the people, I'll say, nope. It's the leader. It's the leader. It's what are you doing to lead them? And then what are you doing to remove the barriers, the roadblock? Part of my job was removing roadblocks for my teams, getting the right systems in place, the tools, and giving them the right training and also building the right culture where people feel like they can win, they can get feedback, they can be innovative. It's all of those things that come into play. So I think you're just you're doing yourself injustice by saying it's the people. That's a cop out. So if someone give me that the first response, I'm gonna tell them go back. No, you got to get that. No, we're not accepting that today.
Amazing. So I'm going to dig a little bit deeper on that thread. Take me back to that moment where that crystallized for you as your philosophy when you said, this isn't about the talent. This is really about the ecosystem.
Um, I can, you know what? I can use myself as an example. Okay, we're gonna go there. So you're really going there today. So I can use myself as an example, going up the corporate, ladder, I guess. And I mean, look, I've been blessed. I've had a great career. I've bounced around, done some amazing things. But I also recognize early on that it wasn't just my talent wasn't enough. And unfortunately for me and others, you also got to be chosen or you got to be, are you a fit in their structure? That's normally I mean, if I'm being real and transparent, because in most cases, I ran circles around most. Sorry. I am confident enough to know that I've done a lot of amazing things and my results speaks for themselves. So talent wise, no, it's not the talent. It's about whether or not they select you to go to that next level. In my case, I like to say that I'm not about being selected. I was already chosen. And I was chosen, by the higher being. So I'll tell people all the time, I am highly favored. I knew that going in. And what God got for me, He has for me. And my job, JP, was to just deliver, you know, stay ready. I tell people who work with me know we stay ready. We don't get ready. We stay ready. That's what we do. That's how we kind of go in and say, regardless of what happened, we just got to stay ready. And
Absolutely.
we have to.
Now, we both been around the block a little bit here. So when I think about that response, let's flip it for a minute. How do you develop leaders within a system that might actually be working against them?
You know what? That's a great question. What I normally use a model, just a typical model that I use for developing leaders is called the PI. You probably heard of it, and that's the performance, the image, and exposure. And I normally develop leaders through that model, and the whole intent is once you got through the exposure, performance table stakes, you got to deliver. You got to be the top top 10% got to be, you got to be the best of the best. And then you talk about the I is the image, your brand. And your brand is so important. And it's not like what your leaders say about you, which is important, but what would your team say? And what will your peers say about you as a peer? And then the exposure. How are you exposing yourself internally, inside the company, and also externally? And I say all that because with every because of the system, I'm developing leaders so that they can go perform internally and externally. I'm teaching them how to kind of test their brand externally so that they know their worth. If that makes sense. I mean, it's all about
Yeah.
knowing your worth. People don't like for me. Well, look, I coach minds to, hey, if the company's got the right culture and the right opportunity, great. But if they don't, there's another company out there that you can go do some amazing things for it. So know your worth. That's the one thing. I knew my worth, but I was afraid to test it early on in my career until I kind of, I had to get my bearings or kind of understand the rules of the game. But now I'm like, no, know your worth. That's the most important piece.
I chuckle because I have a T-shirt that says "Know Your Worth," then add tax on top. But
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah, yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah. And then I think the second piece is similar to you having led these mentorship programs, and folks come back to you and say, "Why did they leave the company?" Told them what they were worth,
Yeah, that's right.
and shame on us if we didn't recognize that.
That's what I used to say. People's like, why did they? I was like, guys, they know their worth.
Their worth.
They can go out and make just as much or more. And most cases, most people leave and get a higher title and higher pay.
Absolutely, shame on us. We should have taken advantage. So,
Yes.
so now we're going to talk about the subject du jour because it's on at least once a day. We have to mention these two little letters known
Oh,
as A.
yes.
Okay. So, given your extensive experience with transformation, tell me where it's actually helping, and then tell me where we're just scaling the wrong things faster.
Yeah, I think AI is helping in areas like, data, synchronizing data. I think it's helping there. It's helping with simplified tasks. It's improving process. Here's where AI is really helping is providing insights. Providing insights on products, deployments, customer experiences. I mean, AI is critical there. Areas where it's not helping, oh my God, it's like when your strategy and priorities are not aligned with AI. And all you're doing is turning on AI to drive some type of business result, but you don't realize how it all fits. It drives confusion, disruption. I mean, I've seen it just kind of blow up organizations because, yeah, the one thing we know about AI, it works. You can turn it on and it will run. But if you don't have guardrails, governance, alignment, communications, how it fits in your overall strategy, it will destroy your ecosystem. And
Yeah.
I think that's what some company was dealing with. And you're like me in our new roles, every company we talk to, every person, AI, and I'm asking them, and I'm sure you are too, like, how does it really fit though? Like, what are you using it for? Like, I mean, you just want to say you have AI, I'll sell you something if that's the case. But if you want to do it right, then let's think about it like from an end-to-end standpoint. What's your strategy, your priorities? JP, you'll be surprised. You're not surprised, but okay, audience, you may be surprised how many people we meet with that do not understand, that cannot articulate their own strategy and their priorities, but they want AI. And I'm like, okay, how are you going to use it? How is it going to impact your employees? How is it going to impact your compensation structure? Have you thought about all these things? And they just want AI.
I want AI because the board
The
asked
board
me,
says we should be
and the
using AI.
investor said we should.
But don't you want the right AI, the tool that works, that's going to complement your priorities, your strategy? That's what I mean. I mean, we are business leaders, right? We're running a business. So,
Absolutely. If we've got five business units and or six or however many we have, and I implement AI over here, did I talk to my friends over there to make
yeah,
sure
that's
these
right.
things work together? These unintended consequences. Who knew, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's the unintended consequence. It's the disruption operationally. It's the impact. did you think about how do you build adoption, getting people, and what new skills your people have to learn in this AI era? And the one skill I talk to every people about is you need to ask more questions. And people are just not asking enough questions as it relates to AI. So AI do whatever you want it to do, but you got to know what question to ask. And what I'm finding is a lot of people just don't know what questions to ask. And that's the challenge that we're dealing with right now.
Absolutely. Most basic questions, and you've heard it before. What problem are we trying to solve? How will we know that we've solved it? And can we solve it without AI? And
Right.
just
And
curious.
that, that's it. And then what success metrics do we have in place? Did we go back and revisit the metrics that we traditionally have in place? Do they still work in this new AI era? And probably not. They need to be tweaked, they need to be revised, and you need a different scorecard.
Absolutely. I think one of the challenges that we tend to see is AI is solely focused on as an efficiency metric in terms of a way to reduce costs in the business. And having had, most recent conversations, I said, what you really need to be looking at AI for is an effectiveness metric because it should be driving your growth, not just reducing your costs. Because as we know with most businesses, it's going to be focused on growth, not necessarily just efficiency, but that effectiveness. So I think we're going to see a bit of a reckoning in that space.
I think so. I think we are. I think we're going to see a reckoning on how we utilize AI, and then more importantly, what does leadership look like in this new AI era? I think
Absolutely.
that's going to be key. It's going to be different skills, and the one thing I always like to reinforce to everyone, AI will not replace leadership. So let's just make sure it will provide the insights, but you still need someone, the leader, to make business decision. And AI is not going to teach you how to lead people either.
So it's our new T-shirt: enablement, not replacement.
That's it. Oh, I like that. Hey,
There you
okay.
go. That one's free. Trademark. We got it here. Okay.
All
Anyway,
right, got
we'll keep it moving.
it.
All right. So we're going to go back to the topic of mentorship because that's something that's very near and dear to you that you spend a lot of time on and have spent a lot of time on your career. But I want you to think about like high potential leaders, that top 10% or what have you, um, where they struggle in areas that don't show up in the resume. So talk to me a little bit about that.
You know what area that they struggle with that doesn't show up on the resume, which is surprising but not surprising. Still a lot of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Imposter syndrome. They are still struggling with why they got the role. And I spend in my mentoring and executive coaching a lot of time just reinforcing reinforcing to individuals that you belong, you've done the work, your profile is no different than everyone else at the table. You now have a seat at the table. You need to find your voice. Those are the things that is surprisingly to me that people still have suffer from imposter syndrome. They still questioning why they got the promotion, why they there, and they haven't found their voice. Maybe finding your voice is the other piece, teaching them how to find your voice. And the hardest thing, I think, for most leaders is becoming your authentic self.
I'm curious about that one for a second because one of the things that I've come to learn about imposter syndrome is it essentially means that you're outside of your comfort zone and you're doing something different and you're growing, which should be applauded, right? And
Right.
so that's one perspective on it. But I think another perspective is that there seems to be this notion out there that when you get promoted, that you're checking all the boxes, you're 10 out of 10, where in a lot of cases you might be 6 or 7 with an opportunity to grow into the other three. And that's okay. And this is why we give you these things. If you're 10 out of 10 walking in, you might get bored and this might not be a great fit. So I'm curious from your perspective, um, Do you see any differences, whether culturally or based on gender or anything else, that would kind of drive this imposter syndrome that you've observed?
Absolutely. One is for most um, minorities and women, we normally have to be check 20 boxes in order to get the promotion compared to our colleagues. So I think that's one thing that kind of put the pressure on. We don't get a chance to develop. We have to be, when I was growing up in corporate America, it was if I was going after a director or AVP role, as a level two manager, I had to be showing signs and operating at that director level or AVP role as a level two. Which is so I think that's probably some of the challenges, JP, is they've had to operate 2 to 3 levels in their previous role to get this one. So now they feel like they're behind because the pressure of being having to now I gotta perform even better and I just got the job, but now I gotta step up, they understand hey, this is growth and develop. They just don't believe in some cases we won't be given the same amount of time to grow and develop. So I think that's the pressure
Yeah,
that I'm
absolutely.
hearing.
So,
And I've seen firsthand. I
oh
think
yeah,
that's the pressure. And it is, I mean, I think you and I would agree. It is different for minority leaders and for females. I mean,
yeah.
if someone want to argue with us over that,
Hey,
have at it. I'm not going to argue with you about it. These are facts.
right.
The numbers
Right.
speaks for themselves. There have been several research. I mean, these are facts, guys. We're not here to debate it. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
Minorities and women do have to go through a different um, development track to get the roles. They're not to get the role we want compared to others.
So I think your mentorship takes on a different dimension at that point because this is what you're talking about is as we would say in sports, the game within the game, and
Yes.
understanding that I'm not just going to teach you the technical aspects of how to manage a budget, how to hire, how to there are other things. And I think you touched on it earlier about your exposure and things like that you have to understand that this is part of your brand.
Right. And part of that is finding out what exposure means to you. And, I always like tell people like, what's your MVP? Like, what's your mission, your vision, and your purpose? And let's center it there. And then let's use that to kind of decide on where you want to go next. Because if I can understand what your purpose and what you want to go do, then I can help shape you. I can help get you aligned to where your purpose is. And you'll be a lot more happier and it'll all come together. But just getting people to have that conversation, that hard conversation inside, like, what is your purpose? What is it that you want to go do? And, the interesting part about mentoring is getting people to find out their passion. And I normally do an exercise with groups and with individuals around what's your superpower? What is your superpower? What do you do? And we go around the room and, it's challenging. It's getting people to pull out their superpowers. When I had large teams. I knew every team member's superpower. As I pulled them, brought them together, I brought them together because I knew each one of them brought a unique superpower. And just to have me go around and say, this is your superpower. This is how it fits in the overall team. This is how we operate as one because each person brings a uniqueness. And getting people to kind of understand that, JP, and get excited about your superpower. Oh my God. I know what my superpower is. I can transform large organizations. I can develop future leaders. I set the organization up to win. We win. That's what we do. We're excellent. We win. We build the right culture. We have fun. We take care of each other. We give back to the community, um, but we win. And honestly, JP, I don't know, have you met someone, but I never met a person who didn't want to be part of a winning team.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
something about being part of a winning team, right? You're like, hey, we winning. I mean, I know you have in your career, and I know I have, man, having those organizations where you know we winning, we're like, huh, you're like, man, we winning, boy. That's it's nothing like it. You can be like, I can go to my team and say, this is the challenge of the day. We got you, boss. This is what we gotta go do. I mean, man, I tell people that I say that's why I'm passionate about it because once you get to experience that, it's life changing. It's life changing. You never want to go
Absolutely.
back.
Yeah, one of the things I often say is not everybody wants to win President's Club, but everyone does want to be on the winning team.
That's it. That's it. They want to be on the winning team. They want to know something powerful about knowing the role you played on that winning team. And you know how and you know your role. And you can articulate like my role is this. When I do this, the team gets to do this. That's rewarding to a
That's
lot
right.
of people.
That's right. All right. So I'm going to get you in trouble for a second with this next question. Tell me when you
Sure.
had to go against the system to make the right call.
Yeah, whew. And part of my brand is I was one of those people, and you're probably not surprised that always kind of challenge the status quo, kind of got me in trouble sometimes, but I was being my authentic self, JP. I was like, well, I think we can do this differently. So one good example that comes to mind, we had to uh, you know, go through our favorite, what we all hate, surplus. So I was given, hey, you need to go down, I think it was 20, 30 people. Here's the reason we need to cut budgets. It represented X of $1 million. And I said, got it. So instead of saying, hey, go through the list and kind of rank all my people and do all this and say who's at the bottom, I actually flipped the model upside down. I went to my leadership team and said, hey, here's the challenge. We need to remove, I think it might have been $10 million. We need to remove $10 million out of the business, or we need to remove 35 people out of the business. Here's the levels. Here's what. Now, which one do we want to take on? And we collectively said, we believe because we ran a big business, can we find a way to kind of get the cost savings out of process improvements and tools usage and things like, and that's what we went after. We went after increasing, adoptions on tools, reducing transfers, reducing average handling time, increasing sales per call. So we got really, really, really good on operational excellence. And we were able, it was definitely unconventional. And it took my bosses a lot to get their head around it till I proved it out to say, because no one believed I could do it. We could do it, but I did, and my team did. And we actually proved it out and we got it. And we also went in and afforded opportunity for those who wanted to go do something else. We took on an effort of finding them jobs within the company or those who were ready to move on. We allowed them to move on. And that was probably the best example of really just, breaking the system and then realizing that you can actually do a lot of things differently. Just because your budget cut is $10 million, it doesn't all have to be people. You could figure out how to drive operation efficiencies, technology advancements, all of those cool things. Now, was it easy? No. Was it a lot of work? Absolutely. But was it rewarding at the end because my team was bought in? And yeah, it was. And we proved a lot of people wrong at the end of the day. So it was actually, you know, I got a lot of naysays and not a, no, what are you doing? It's not going to work. but it did.
You made it work. So, closing thoughts here, the next couple of minutes or so. Sometimes leaders push very hard, but their results don't always match the effort. Are there any takeaways that you have for our listeners or leaders who are struggling with this, or just anything else we haven't talked about today that might be helpful?
Um, it always start with you. Take a look in the mirror, look at you and just kind of say, hey, or ask a simple question, am I doing everything I should be doing? At the end of the day, what am I? Because at the end of the day, it comes back to you, the leader. So it's like, what can you do differently? And use a simple model. What should I start doing? What should I stop doing? What should I continue? That's one. Then the second thing is, most leaders should have a board of directors. These are colleagues, friends. Check in with them and ask them to say, hey, what are they hearing? What are they seeing about my leadership and things I need to work on? And then the third group would be, of course, ask your team. If you've created the right culture, the right teaming environment where they feel comfortable giving you direct feedback and you're not going to be mad at them, and it's a safe space, then I'm always going to go to my team and be like, all right, guys, give me the feedback. Let's bring it on. Help me become a better leader. Give it to me straight. So, it's three things. It's look me in the mirror, my board of directors, and then it's going to my team and getting the feedback.
Yeah, that last one's always tough. You've got to be vulnerable as a leader. You're not going to have all the answers. To go to your team and say, "What do you need from me?" and "Do you need to be led differently?" I think that's always going to be a tough one, and that's a ever evolving space that I think leaders find themselves in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, listen, At, this has been amazing. We've run through quite a few things here. I'm sure we can talk all day about this,
I'm
but
sure we could.
for our listeners, again, this has been Confessions of a CX Executive, and this is what we talk about. You're not going to get the fluff. You're going to get the real, and you're going to hear from people who done it, not people who've written about it or put a big fancy deck together about it. These are people who rolled up their sleeves and actually run businesses. So once again, I want to thank Anthony Tuggle for being here today, and I want to thank you as the listener for joining us in this week's edition of Confessions of a CX Executive, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Appreciate you, sir.
If today's conversation hit close to home, I want you to do two things. One, share this episode with someone who owns a number. And two, subscribe, because we're just getting started. I help CX leaders move from stalled execution to visible results before delays turn into credibility and retention problems for your organization. So if you're feeling the friction between strategy and execution, connect with me on LinkedIn or check the show notes and let's have a conversation. Until next time, this is Confessions of a CX Executive. Real talk, real operators, real outcomes.